Hi, this is Lori with Time to Be Creative. I'm working on the wedding album. In the previous video, I showed you how I did my spine and added my pages. And now I'm going to go over how I attach my paper, my base paper. For this project, I decided to use, I'm not sure which way this is recording, whether this is upside down or right side up. Oh my. Well, anyway, I'm using a Blanc Boutique. It has a pearl finish. It's by the Paper Studio. And I'd like to encourage you when you're working on a book to go through your paper and decide what you want for your cover. And I'm going to use this like dotted Swiss for the cover of this album. So I have that in the book. And I think I'm going to accent in a light pink, like a rose pink. I also have this Mambi pad for wedding. Now this is a little more relaxed, not as elegant as the other paper pad. But I think I might use some of this paper to accent throughout the book. We'll see. And so what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've added my cut sheets of paper to most of the pages. I didn't think you needed to see all of that, so I'm just going to put one sheet on for you, and then I'm going to ink my edge. So I want to make sure I get the right. What I decided to do is I wanted my pages as they open up to kind of lay out and be the same. And then for my inside and outside cover, I'll have that paper be the same as well. So I'm not sure if this is going to be the back or the front of the book, but I have one more page to put here. And that will be this paper. So I like to use my ATG gun, Advanced Tape Glider, I think it stands for. And so I've cut my paper, my patterned paper out to the size that I needed. Now in some books, well actually in most of the books that I make, I don't take the paper to the edge because I like to ink the edges and have that show. But for this, I really wanted a really white, clean, elegant look, and so I am taking the paper all the way to the edge. So I've measured my paper for my book. It's an envelope pocket album. So my paper measures 8.5 by 5 3/4, which I went ahead and cut that. And so now I'm going to add my tape on the back. I'd like to do around the outside edges and then down the center. And I'm not the best at getting all the way to the edge, so sometimes I come back and give it another strip. And I'm using the 1/2-inch tape. And so I'm just going to come in here and line this up as best that I can. And put that down. I was going to add some smaller pages, but I decided to keep it more simple, so I just added all these. If you're going to add any kind of a flap or little pages that open out, you can. It's really best to do that initially before you put down your base paper. And I can always add that and work around that, but for right now, the plan is to just do it simply. And so I have a light, kind of a rosy pink. I have a hard time with this ink pad to determine what the color is. But this is by Studio G, and it's more of a sponge type ink pad, and so I'm just using the ink pad itself to go around my edges and just give that a little bit of color. Normally you would do this before you put your page on. But this time I went ahead and just put my printed paper down first. Not the brightest thing I've ever done. So now I want to come in here and just add a little color to that inside edge. And then I did go ahead and do a little cutout on the ends of my pages for my pages that I'm going to slide in my photo mat. And I need to come back in and do that. On that paper that I just added. And then I need to ink those edges as well, because you want everything to be inked and match. So I just need to come in and do that, both sides of those pages. Now I did go ahead and cut my photo mats. And I don't know for what reason, but the cardstock that I have, the white, is just, it's supposed to be 65 pound, but it doesn't have much stability to it. But I'm going to go ahead and use that because I'm going to then put additional paper on it. It'll give it some stability. So I've gone ahead and pre-cut my photo mats as well. And I cut those to 8 by 5.5, I believe. So they'll slip in, you know, easily. And there'll be plenty of room to put photographs on a book of this size. Now there's one page that I kind of got off. This paper that I'm using has kind of like a real silky, slippery, what do they call it? They called it pearl finish. So it's real smooth. And when you use that AGT tape, if you would just get some tape where you don't want it, you just rub it with your finger. It eventually comes off. Sometimes you have to work at it a little bit. But it is nice that you can. And I do recommend that you keep your work surface clean, but in particular when you're using white, boy, you really need to. Anyway, I got off on one of my pages, had a little bit of trouble. And so one of them is not quite right on the one edge. So I want to make sure I have that. It's this one. Okay, so this is going to be the front of my book because it's kind of off down here. And I'll put some kind of a pocket or embellishment there to cover that so that won't be seen. Okay, so that's the pages, the base of the book, and now I'm going to just work on getting my photo mats ready. So like I said, I've pre-cut these. They're 5.5 by 8, and I at least want to have one side covered with some kind of printed paper. And I want to keep the book mostly have that elegant look, with just a little bit of pink accent, and I'll be working with silver accents as well for the book. So this is from that Mambi pad that I showed you earlier. And I think this is very pretty, and I think I'm going to treat the book like in sections. So the first 3 pages I'm going to use certain paper, and then I'm going to offset the back 3 pages using the same paper for my tabs and switch it out. Alright, so that's a 5.5 inch cut. And then I'm going to come in and cut at 8 inches. This little arm tends to be annoying. And I don't want that rough edge in my book, so I'm going to turn my paper. You need to always be aware of your pattern of your paper and how you're holding it so you get the right cut. So what I'm going to do is, this will be one side of my photo mat, and of course I'll ink that edge, and I'm going to come back in and do another if I cut 3 of these, the 3 will be the same in uniform, which I don't always do that, but I think it's fine for this book. And again, I'll cut here at 5.5. And I'm going to grab one more sheet of that for my paper pad. This is really beautiful paper. I think you could even use this to do a, oh, look at that stripe, I like that too. A christening, photo album, journal. Oh, I'm in the wrong tab, wrong pad. That silver is in the Mambi. This is really pretty.